Are you tired of playing rock, paper, scissors in the Master League Premier Classic? Well, I was. I lost like 200 points during Go Battle Day trying out silly teams that just kept on getting hard countered. So the next day, I made a team that's so flexible, you almost can't get hard countered. And I gained all those points back in just like 5 to 6 sets. The team consists of 3 of the most flexible Pokemon for this format. We got Snorlax in the lead, which is just an amazing generalist in this meta. Really only loses hard to fighting types, which aren't that common in the lead anyway. And even if you do see them, like Snorlax has play there. So overall, Snorlax is just an amazing lead since 99 out of 100 times you're either gonna win the lead or very softly lose it. If you do have to pivot out though, Gyarados is there as a safe switch in this team with Dragon Breath, Excadrill and Crunch. It's extremely flexible, really only has to worry about Magnezone, which is a hard counter, but luckily not that common, and like Fairy types, but even against Fairy types you stand a very good chance as 3 Aquatails usually do not come out. And in the back, we got Florges as just an amazing answer to Dragon types, Gyarados, fighting types. It does struggle versus steel types though, especially Metagross. That is a huge issue for Florges. But versus Magnezone and Excadrill, I found Florges actually still has a lot of play as Moonblast hits very, very hard. In this team, I'm running Best Buddy on Snorlax, by the way, as that will allow you to hit a breakpoint versus Gyarados, meaning your licks will start doing 1 more damage compared to the non-Best Buddy Snorlax, which is quite huge. It allows Best Buddy Snorlax to win that matchup quite convincingly, where the regular can struggle. If you don't have a Best Buddy Snorlax, do Best Buddy on Gyarados instead, because that will nullify that breakpoint and Gyarados will start beating Snorlax again. If you don't have either, without Best Buddy could definitely work, but it'll be less strong for sure. You could also consider running Shadow Snorlax instead of regular. Personally, I do believe Shadow is actually better than regular, just very hard to get. Personally, I don't have one that's good enough. But if you do, consider running Shadow. If you're not sure if your Shadow Snorlax is good enough, I put out a guide recently on how to check if your IVs are good enough for any Pokemon. So if you want to figure that out, I'll put a link down in the description to that video down below. Anyway, let's just get started with the battles, starting with a Shadow Snorlax lead. Against any Snorlax, I just like to stay in for a while, throw a couple body slams or maybe a superpower before dipping out into my Gyarados. My opponent here throws the first move, though it ends up being a Skull Bash, which is wild, does a ton of damage versus me. I was actually afraid that we're going to stay in there, but they actually switch out with the debuff, which is interesting, but fine by me. To bring in a Gyarados, and I can respond to this very nicely with my Florges. Florges is a very good answer here. I'm expecting my opponent to have a Metagross in the back, though. That's kind of a common comp. So I actually don't end up going for the Moonblast here, which might seem like a bit of a weird move since my opponent's not going to shield anyway and the Moonblast would knock out. But I really want to wear out the timer here or get my Florges low. I do not want that Metagross to get a bunch of farm on my Florges. So that's why I end up doing that. Now I'm going to throw the Disarming Voice though, because my timer is almost up. If the Metagross comes in, I should be able to throw the Moonblast before dipping. I'm actually not going to throw it though. I want to save it for the Snorlax later. So I actually end up switching out of my Florges into my Gyarados, and out comes their Snorlax. Now, this is kind of fine. I can start throwing Aquatails here. Shadow Snorlax is actually worse versus Gyarados than Best Buddy Snorlax. So I'm fine with this matchup here. Though it is still not amazing, because as you can see, Body Slam will do a ton, so I'm shooting it up. I guess you can't see it because I shoot it up, but it will do a ton. So I have to shoot it up. These licks are really adding up still. Gonna go for another Aquatail. This will knock out the Snorlax now, and now I just have to crunch the Metagross, which I do right here. This will take a shield most likely, as this would be the hardest hitting move. I'm now in range where a Meteor Mash would knock me out though. That's not great, and they're still incredibly healthy. I do have some energy on Snorlax, but I gotta throw a superpower really quickly, and that will debuff my attack and defense, which is not ideal. I throw it before they can get to a Meteor Mash though. I think they were still 2 Bullet Punches away, so I could have done more licks. I'm gonna lick this down into a range where Moonblast will KO, which is around 30%, and then I switch into my Florges, and this should knock out the Metagross right now. Does it? It does. GG's. Extra's lead is one of the worst things I can see for Snorlax, so I switch into my Gyarados here, and out comes a best buddy Snorlax. Now it's important to note that it's a best buddy Snorlax, as that will destroy my Gyarados. If it was a regular Snorlax, this matchup will be very fine. What I usually do here is I go for the crunch and hope to get the debuff. If I get the debuff there, I can flip this matchup. If I don't, which, well, the 5 times I've tried this, I've never gotten debuff on the first crunch actually, I lose. So usually you're just gonna lose this matchup, but it's fine. We've already taken a shield, which is nice. And now we're just gonna let Gyarados go. My plan now is to switch in Snorlax, overload on a bunch of energy, so I can throw multiple body slams into that Haxorus, because Haxorus is quite squishy, it will not appreciate them. I'm gonna no-shield this, expecting a body slam of theirs. They actually use superpower, not ideal, but fine. Probably gonna shoot the next, because this is definitely gonna be a superpower. Of course, it would have been way better if I shielded the first, but since they were still outside of body slam range, I wasn't expecting them to go superpower first. I was expecting them to go body slam into superpower, but they surprised me. So they did a lot of damage there. Well played, but I still ended up getting out of this matchup with a bunch of energy and a good amount of health. So I can hit 1 body slam, 2 body slam, take a shield here, or take out the Haxorus. But they're gonna shield it up. I switch Florges. Maybe I should have tried a little harder to catch the move, because that would have been quite big. But no, instead, I don't catch anything. They switch in a Metagross, which is definitely not ideal. But with a shield advantage, it's actually not as bad as you would think it is. They're gonna throw another move here. Or their first move, their first Meteor Mash. It's actually not a Meteor Mash. They're running a Psychic Earthquake Metagross, it seems, which is kind of wild. 2 Disarming Voices do more than 1 Moonblast, so I'm gonna go for Disarming Voice here. But I realized that it definitely wouldn't do enough, so I just go for the Moonblast here. My opponent's definitely over-farming here, I think expecting to farm down and estimating the Florges. But yeah, I get to the Moonblast, knock out the Metagross, switching the Snorlax here. Really hoping I can get to the Body Slam, but they're almost at 2 moves already. My opponent goes to Night Slash. Honestly, a misplay since Dragon Claw does more, but they're already at another move anyway, and this will knock me out. Florges, sadly, also doesn't have enough health to get to a move here, so we get taken out. But still, after a very hard lead and switch and Backmon, we got very, very close there. D-Knight lead is honestly one of the hardest leads I can face. Not because Snorlax is particularly bad here, and I actually have a lot of answers in the back for D-Knight as well, and a great pivot in Gyarados. It's mainly because of the most common line with Dragonite. It's usually Snorlax, Metagross. And in that case, if I do what I did here, switch in my Gyarados instantly, they're usually gonna switch in Snorlax, take out my Gyarados, and then I don't have alignment and the Metagross is gonna be on my Florges. That's usually what ends up happening. It's not always Metagross though, sometimes it's Gyarados, in that case Florges might sweep, so that's what I'm hoping for here. But it is not looking too good. Just gonna let this move go. It's definitely shoot power, but I'm not gonna shield it since I don't want to go 2 shields down. Gonna lick it down, have energy loaded for their Dragonite. I do have a bunch of energy. Not throwing? Why am I not throwing? I should throw earlier. I think I'm just gonna let my Snorlax get taken out now. No, I should have switched, right? I'm not switching. I guess I'm hoping it's Gyarados in the back at this point. I think I know it's probably Metagross. Yeah, as you can see, it's Metagross. It's over. I concede the match. So if I play it like that, where I switch in Gyarados, I will usually end up losing the game as I just kind of get hard countered. But there is a way to play it a little better, which I figured out later. If I stay into this matchup as Snorlax, I can win this. So that's what I'm gonna do this match. Because what I'm hoping for them to do is to switch out. If they switch out of their Dragonite themselves, which is usually what Dragonite leads like to do, if I stay in Snorlax, I can align my Florges versus this Snorlax, and now if it's Metagross in the back, I have my Gyarados or Metagross, putting me on in a pretty good spot. I'll take this Body Slam right here. Moonblast would knock out from his range, but 2 Disarming Voices barely would. This is like a pretty even matchup. By no means like winning for Florges, which is why I chipped the Snorlax before switching out into Florges here. We'll wait to survive another Body Slam. Gonna overfarm a bit here. Another Disarming Voice. This will knock out the Snorlax. If they do have Metagross in the back or another Steel, I really hope I can get to a Moonblast there. This is the Metagross. I do get to the Moonblast. As we saw earlier, this does like 30%. So a decent chunk to the Metagross. At least puts it in range where Crunch will knock out. I didn't want to get farmed down there by the Metagross, so I switched out into Gyarados. honestly, I think a bit of an unnecessary play. I probably should have just let my Florges go down and like brought in Snorlax into the Metagross then to just start doing some fast move pressure. But this is okay too. I brought out the Dragonite. I'm gonna be able to double Aqua Tail here. If they no-shoot this, this will knock him out before, or this won't knock him out, but then I will be able to Dragon Breath him down before another Dragon Claw. So it actually shoot it up. Throw a Dragon Claw here. I can farm this down now. Go for a Crunch versus the Metagross, and I should be looking pretty good. But I was overthinking it. I wanted to, for some reason, I wanted to throw the Crunch right before the Meteor Mash. But I miscounted, and now I didn't throw the Crunch at all. So that's a big misplay. This Metagross would have been dead already, but luckily it doesn't matter. We still have the superpower, and this will take out the Metagross, hopefully. It does. Okay, okay. Almost threw that match. But as you can see, if you stay into the lead with a Snorlax versus Dragonite, usually they're going to switch out into their own Snorlax if it's that line. And then you're pretty fine to win the match. Gyarados lead. This is a non-best buddy Gyarados, which means my Snorlax is going to be very, very good here. If you don't have a best buddy Snorlax, this matchup is definitely not ideal. You might actually want to consider switching out at some point. Maybe try to catch an Aqua Tail on your own Dragon Breath Gyarados. But as best buddy Snorlax, this is awesome. Just go for 2 Body Slams and you will knock out the Gyarados with a bunch of health remaining. I throw this right before the Aqua Tail. So we'll take it out at this point. Yeah, this is the difference between best buddy and normal. The normal, that Body Slam would not knocked out, as she didn't do enough damage with licks to get it low enough. But yeah, anyway, Electivire comes in, which is crazy. That's really, really spicy. I gotta stay in here. Definitely gotta stay in here. Because my Gyarados does not want to see that. Really want to get my Florges aligned here. But even Florges, like, that's not ideal, since a Wild Charge will do a ton of damage. So I shield this, expecting a Wild Charge. They actually end up Ice Punch baiting me though, which is definitely not ideal. They bring in a Magnezone, which is also far from ideal. But this isn't over. Look at that disarming voice damage, that's already pretty good. Mirror Shot won't do that much, but don't get the attack drop here. Florges actually has a ton of play versus Magnezone. Mirror Shot doesn't get the attack drop. I go for another disarming voice, expecting a shielder. I'm staying in. I'm signaling to them that I'm weak to Magnezone and I want to get rid of it. So I'm hoping they shield, and they do shield. I'm going to no-shield this next Mirror Shot. Shouldn't knock me out, and it doesn't, but I get the attack drop. So I really don't want to throw my Moonblast, since it wouldn't knock out at that point. Maybe I should have, though. In hindsight, maybe I should have. Instead, I just switched to Gyarados, hoping to get to the Aqua Tail, but I end up shooting a Mirror Shot. And I get to the Wild Charge here. I think I made a misplay here. Why did I stay in with Florges that long? I stayed in with Florges quite long versus the Magnezone. And because of that, it was able to reach Mirror Shot and a Wild Charge versus my Gyarados. I really should have just dipped out. Once I got the attack drop, I should have just dipped out. I would have gotten to the Aqua Tail versus the Magnezone, and I would have still had a Disarming Voice loaded for the Electivire, which clearly, as you saw just now, knocked out. So I could have won that game, even though it was a Magnezone in the back. Excadrill is a pretty even lead for Snorlax. You kind of have to land a bait here to win this matchup, but like, even if they call the bait, it's kind of fine. So usually, I just bait here. And even if they no shield, I'm alright with that. Sometimes, if I'm feeling a little adventurous, I'll even trade Superpower here. But most of the times they end up shielding. So I find Body Slam to be the better play. This time my opponent sadly no shielded, but I'm okay with that. Look at this, we've both thrown one charge move and we're basically at the same health. That Body Slam actually did quite a bit of damage versus the Excadrill. I'm gonna go for Superpower right now. Expecting to no shield again actually, thinking this is just another Body Slam, but they actually shield this time. So I'm getting hauled all over the place. I don't really want to stay in with my debuff Snorlax, so I switch out into Gyarados and they bring in a Togekiss, which is quite bad. But if you time your charge moves appropriately here versus Togekiss, you will be able to get to 3 Aqua Tails normally, especially with that tiny bit of energy lead. That's what I'm counting on here. I'm throwing my Aqua Tails right at the end of charms, and that allows me to get to another one. Even if I didn't get to, that much of an energy lead versus the Excadrill, you still reach that, so that's kind of nice about Gyarados. They bring in their own right now, and I got a really good answer to this in Florges. Florges is, I believe, a little bit tankier than Togekiss, since Florges can actually take 3 Aqua Tails quite convincingly. Togekiss, as you saw, just gets knocked out, but Florges can easily take these. I shoot the first one up though, since I know I'm really gonna only need one shield versus the Excadrill. And I'm kind of worried about potential Hydro Pump Gyaradoses. I don't know, someone posted a video on Hydro Pump Gyarados recently. And also got Hydro Pump by Gyarados myself, so I didn't really get Hydro Pump, so I shielded the first one, just an Aqua Tail though, but that's fine. Again, I don't really need shields for the Excadrill. I'm gonna just take one Juron here and finish it off with Snorlax at this point. Gonna throw Disarming Voice first out, just to take the shield, and then I should be fine to get to the Body Slam with Snorlax, I hope. Actually quite far away, further than I thought, but I still reach it before they get to 2 Jurons. This knocks out the Excadrill, and then the Gyarados should get fast move down, and it does. GG's. Togekiss lead. This is super fine for Snorlax. Is also exactly where you want to see the Togekiss. Well, Florges is very fine here too, but you really don't want to see it on Gyarados. When shields are down, it's like kind of a fine matchup, as you saw in the previous match, as Gyarados will be able to reach 3 Aqua Tails. But shields up, it's not ideal if Togekiss can shield up. You go for an Ancient Power here, I let it go, and they get a boost. This is actually still super fine though. If you time your moves appropriately here, I still get to 2 Body Slams, but I failed. I let them get a free charm, and because of that, I don't reach this Body Slam. That was just really bad by me, and now I'm kind of forced to bring in Florges to farm this down. Maybe I should have brought in Gyarados, to be honest. I feel like Dragon Breaths probably do more than Fairy Winds. Yeah, this is what I decided to do, and well, at this point, I'm committed. I farmed this thing all the way down after shooting an Ancient Power too, and it's looking quite grim. They even have a Snorlax, which at this point can definitely beat my Florges, and I think it's a best buddy too. It is, so my Gyarados is gonna take a ton of damage as well. But this is not over. This is not over. I'm gonna start Disarming Voicing here. At this point, 2 Disarming Voices will knock out, and the Moonblast wouldn't, so that's why I went Disarming Voice there instead of the Moonblast, and I take a shield too, which is definitely ideal. At this point, I am not sure... Oh, I was gonna say I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to another 2 Disarming Voices, so go for Moonblast, but actually I end up going for Disarming Voice. And another one. I guess I did reach it, so that's pretty huge. Does it knock out the Snorlax at this point? It does knock out the Snorlax. In comes their Gyarados. And it's a Waterfall Gyarados, which is huge. For some reason, they end up going for a Aqua Tail here, which is weird, but I will take that. I'm just gonna go straight for Crunch here. I think even if they went Crunch, I outpaced them to 2 Crunches though, so I don't think it really mattered. But yeah, because I hit the Crunch here, they were calling a bait. I win the game, and that is a GG. Alright, Primarina lead. This is actually not my first Primarina lead. And the last time I faced a Primarina lead, they basically instant switch into Snorlax. I brought out my Gyarados after chipping the Snorlax. My Gyarados got destroyed by the Snorlax because it was a best buddy Snorlax. And then they had Excadrill in the back to destroy my Florges. So this time, I'm gonna play it a little differently. They bring out the Snorlax immediately. I'm gonna try to chip it and then switch into my Florges. Go straight Super Power. This is already mistake number 1. I should just go Body Slam here. Because even if they no-shield that, that's fine. That's enough chip for my Florges to consistently beat it. But this is still okay. This is still okay. We've burnt the shield. Florges should be able to beat this. But then they go Soul Bash. Oh, man. That is... yeah, that is quite bad. This is now horrible, okay? Because Gyarados has a terrible matchup versus Primarina. I need to win Switch here. I need to really badly win Switch here. Otherwise, I just lose the game. Because Gyarados versus Primarina is just straight up destruction. So, yeah, I'm actually going to shield here. Not just once, but twice. Yeah, that is maybe not the best play. Maybe not the... Honestly, I could have also considered... Maybe I should... In hindsight, maybe I should just let Florges go, brought in the Gyarados, farm down the Snorlax, and then hope Snorlax can sweep. That might have been a play. Especially considering it's a non-best buddy Gyarados in the back. My Snorlax might have been able to sweep both the Primarina and the Gyarados. I think that would have been a bit better in hindsight. But also, I really should have just switched in my Gyarados versus Snorlax. I should have just chipped the Snorlax a little and brought in Gyarados. Even versus best buddy Snorlax, if I just get a little bit of chip, my Gyarados can win. And at the very least, it will avoid the Primarina. Even if I end up losing that matchup slightly, like, it avoids the Primarina, and I'm fine. Now that I didn't do that, I'm just, yeah, I'm just gonna get destroyed there. They get to the charge move right there, would have knocked me out, so I concede the match before they can. GG's. Magnezone lead is interesting. This is definitely where I want to see it, as my Gyarados and Florges really don't like it. But it's kind of bait dependent, because I have to hit a superpower to win this matchup. I like just not throwing until they throw moves though, because now that I've thrown the Wild Charge, my Body Slam would even do a ton. So I would have thrown that if they stayed in, but they actually switched in my champ right now, which is ideal. This is really good for Florges. I can just take the Rock Slide and now farm up 4 more Fairy Winds before I throw my Moonblast. Actually, Disarming Voice. Versus regular Machamp, you want to go Moonblast. Versus a Shadow, you can go Disarming Voice and will knock out. Now, Magnezone will come back in. I still have so much health, they can't really farm me down. So they're going to have to throw a Charge Move right here. They can definitely farm up though. They can definitely farm up to like a Mirror Shot or 2 before taking me out. So, but yeah, that allows me to get to the Moonblast there. Does a good chunk of damage. Actually, basically brings them in Body Slam range already, even without a debuff. They're gonna Mirror Shot me here. Now they already have a bunch of energy. Kind of expecting them to throw kind of soon, so I should go straight for Body Slam here. Expecting them to shield, since they do have some energy, but actually no shield that, which is pretty awkward. Want to keep my Snorlax alive, since it could still be very useful. Usually it's Gyarados in the back of Magnezones, so that's what I was expecting, and Snorlax is still very good there, but ends up being Togekiss, which is very bad. This is very bad for Gyarados. But I might have some play if I can get to like 3 Aqua Tails first. First, I gotta get off some Body Slams though. This will take both shields, I think. Yeah, it does. And now I bring in Gyarados. Honestly, I was kind of surprised they shielded those Body Slams. Body Slam from Snorlax generally isn't that hard of a hitting move, but I think they just thought they needed their shields, or their health, which I guess makes sense. Now Gyarados should be fine. I only need 2 Aqua Tails to knock out at this point. We already did enough chip with the fast moves where these will definitely knock out. So that's 1. Get to another 1. Make sure I throw in the middle of a Charm. I don't want them to catch the Aqua Tail or Magnezone, as that would be quite devastating. The Magnezone is still alive though. Maybe it's able to spark me down. No, it barely isn't. Dragon Breath down, and that's a good game. For the final battle, we got a Metagross lead. This is a pretty even matchup, I'd say. I am doing a ton of damage with licks, but Bullet Punches are definitely adding up to it, and a Meteor Mash is just gonna hit me quite hard. And I kind of have to rely on baiting to hit Metagross hard with any charge moves. Generally, Metagrosses are switching out of this matchup though, which I really, really like, because I kind of don't want to play the bait game there and actually switching to Gyarados here. Now I have a very hard counter with Florges in the back, but I actually don't end up bringing it in. Since usually Metagross lead with like Gyarados switch comes with a dragon in the back, something that's weak against Charm, and they are using the Gyarados switch to lure out the Fairy. So I don't fall for it. I go into my Gyarados here, take out their Gyarados. Besides that, the nice thing about switching in Gyarados here is that it has more carryover value. If I would have switched Florges into the Gyarados, it would have 0 value versus the Metagross that's gonna come back in. Even worse, I would have probably gotten farmed down, and the Metagross would have a bunch of Meteor Mash to throw at my Gyarados or Snorlax. Whereas now with the way I played it, I got a crunch off on the Metagross. The Metagross was also barely able to farm against my Gyarados. It had to throw a Meteor Mash to take me out. So overall, this is a very good situation now. And it all goes according to plan, since it even ends up being a dragon in the back as expected. Mud Shot Garchomp seems a little scary though, as a nerf power would do a ton. But as you can see, Florges is quite tanky, so I can just take the first, go for a Moonblast here, and this will take him out, or take a shield. But yeah, I expect it takes him out. They wanna probably farm me down now and hope to Meteor Mash my Snorlax, but that's not happening before I get off a Moonblast. And this will already put it in a range where I can basically lick down. They know it, so they shoot up. Does Snorlax have a move ready? It does. So even if they had a Meteor Mash or 2 there, I would have been fine, since I would have CMP tied and used the shield. Take out the... Oh, we actually don't take him out. Oh my. But we do lick him down. GG's. So yeah, anyway, that was the final battle. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. See you next video. Good luck, your well streamers.